So, here we are again, and today I thought we'd talk about that subject of Hermeticism. And it's a very large subject, so what I thought we'd do is that we'd split this up into a number of different sections or episodes. So this episode will be about what exactly is Hermeticism and its evolution. How did it all begin? And in the next episode, we'll go into the fundamental concepts, the base concepts, the foundations of Hermeticism. Then I'd like to do an episode that compares Gnosticism, Hermeticism, and Neoplatonism, because there are quite a lot of overlapping concepts between these systems. And in the last episode, we'll talk about Hermeticism in the modern world and how Hermeticism has been integrated into modern occult and esoteric philosophy. So let's jump straight in there now, and we'll start with the evolution of Hermeticism and where did it all begin and why? Why did this philosophy arise? Now, this didn't all start by somebody just having a bright idea about how the world worked. This all started way back in the 4th century BCE. In, I believe it was 332 BCE, when Alexander conquered Egypt. But he didn't go into Egypt as a hostile invader. He was welcomed in. Alexander's real beef was with the Persians. Now, there was a bit of friction between the Egyptians and the Persians at the time, and the Egyptians, for very good reasons, felt threatened by the Persians. So when Alexander had won his battles against the Persians, he was welcomed into Egypt. They saw him as a liberator, and during Alexander's stay in Egypt, he founded the city of Alexandria, which in turn became one of the world's centres of culture and learning. And it's in the city of Alexandria where our story first starts. This great city brought together some of the greatest minds in the world. And inevitably, the beliefs and philosophies of these cultures began to merge. And this integration of the cultures saw the birth of many new philosophies, among them Gnosticism, and yes, of course, Hermeticism. The Greeks brought their philosophy, in particular Platonism and Stoicism, and the teachings of Aristotle, in a word which I find quite difficult to get my tongue around, Aristotelianism. And now we've got our tongue around old Aristotle's Aristotelian totalitarianism. The Egyptians, well, they brought a different angle. They brought a highly symbolic religion that was focused on the cosmic order and divine wisdom. The Jews, too, were a part of this great philosophical melting pot, and what they brought to the picture was their ideas of creation and other ideas that told us of the cosmic order and of the hierarchy of creation, which in turn went off in its own direction to form the beginnings of the Kabbalah. And the Persians also made a contribution through Zoroastrianism and the ideas of dualism and the concept of the emanations. So in this context, in the city of Alexandria, is where thinkers first began to synthesize Greek and Egyptian wisdom into a single symbolic figure. And so was born Hermes Trismegistus, Hermes the Thrice Great, which in turn was embodied by the Egyptian god Thoth. You know, the one the one that was symbolized by the ibis, Jehote, and this was a natural syncretism between the gods of the two cultures. The Greek god Hermes, messenger of the gods and patron of wisdom and language, and the Egyptian god Thoth, the divine scribe and the master of writing, knowledge, and the magical arts. So that's the beginnings of Hermeticism and how the whole thing evolved. But what exactly is Hermeticism? So here's a clear and concise definition that I'll read for you now. Hermeticism is a philosophical and spiritual tradition based on the teachings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, combining elements of Greek philosophy and Egyptian religion. It teaches that all things in the universe are interconnected. The divine truth can be known through inner revelation, and that by understanding the relationship between the cosmos and the self, so as above, as below, one can attain spiritual wisdom and unity within the divine. And it comes to us today in a group of texts written by the so-called anonymous initiates. Not a single author, but most likely they were written by Greek priests and philosophers wishing to preserve their sacred knowledge. And the whole compiled collection is available to us today under the name of the Corpus Hermeticum. And the Corpus Hermeticum is the core of what we now call today Hermetic philosophy. So what does it tell us? Well, amongst other things, it discusses the nature of God as an ineffable, all-encompassing source, the concept they call the All, the creation of the cosmos through the emanations, and it tells us also of the divine nature of the human soul, the soul that fell into matter, but capable of returning back to the divine through knowledge. And it also tells us how to use ritual purification and contemplation as paths to enlightenment, to return back to the one. So that's the evolution and a base overview of Hermeticism. And on the next episode, which will be on Sunday at 5 p.m. And I should also add, that's 5 p.m. GMT +1. So, translate that whatever you are. We'll release the next video, which will be 10 core foundations to Hermetic philosophy. So, I hope you can catch me on that one. So with that, I'll see you all again very soon. And don't forget the old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're interested in this content. And with that, I'll see you all again next Sunday, 5 p.m.